Two of the world's most powerful nations, India and China, share a contentious border that has seen decades of tension. But what if, today, these giants were to go to war? Who would emerge victorious? Let's dive deep into the flashpoints, strategies, and the terrifying consequences of such a conflict. But before we start, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon for more thought-provoking content. Imagine standing at the icy peaks of the Himalayas, where borders are drawn not by ink, but by blood. The line of actual control, Ladakh, between India and China is one of the most tense and disputed borders in the world. Here, every step could spark a conflict, and the stakes are monumental. The two most volatile regions, Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh. Aksai Chin, a cold and desolate plateau, is claimed by India but has been under Chinese control since the 1962 war. It holds strategic importance for China, connecting Tibet to Xinjiang. On the other hand, Arunachal Pradesh, a lush and mountainous region, is administered by India but claimed by China as part of South Tibet. This tug-of-war over territory is not just about land. It's about national pride, security, and survival. The flashpoints have already proven deadly. In June 2020, the world watched in shock as Indian and Chinese soldiers clashed in the Galwan Valley, resulting in the first fatalities at the LAC in over 4 decades. No bullets were fired, yet 20 Indian soldiers and an unknown number of Chinese troops lost their lives in a brutal hand-to-hand combat at 14,000 feet above sea level. The sheer brutality of the encounter highlighted the unforgiving nature of the Himalayan terrain, where survival itself is a challenge, let alone waging war. When two nuclear-armed giants stand toe-to-toe, the world watches in uneasy silence. But what makes these titans truly formidable? Let's dive into the raw military strength of India and China, the two largest armies in the world. India's military might is impressive. With 1.45 million active personnel, it boasts a massive ground force backed by 4,614 tanks rumbling across its borders, 600 combat aircraft slicing through the skies, and 160 warships patrolling its vast coastline. The nation's defense budget for 2024 stands at $74.30 billion, a significant allocation aimed at modernizing its forces and countering growing threats. But China is a behemoth. With more than 2 million active personnel, it fields the largest standing army in the world. The Chinese war machine includes over 5,200 tanks, 3,285 aircraft, and a formidable navy with 350 warships. Its defense budget? A staggering $330 billion, more than 3 times India's, fueling advancements in technology, missile systems, and cyber warfare. Yet, numbers don't tell the whole story. India has a crucial edge: experience in high-altitude warfare. The Kargil War of 1999 was fought in some of the harshest conditions on Earth, giving Indian troops an unmatched expertise in mountain combat. Meanwhile, Chinese forces have never been tested in a full-scale war at these altitudes. If war broke out between India and China today, both countries would bring vastly different strategies to the table, utilizing their unique strengths. China would likely prioritize a rapid, high-tech approach, aiming for a swift, decisive victory. With its massive investment in cyber capabilities, China could initiate devastating cyber attacks to cripple India's infrastructure and communications. Missiles would rain down with precision, and China's air force would likely seek dominance early, striking key military and strategic targets. With a formidable navy, China could choke India's trade routes through the Indian Ocean, tightening its grip on vital supply lines. On the other hand, India would focus on its defensive strengths, particularly in the challenging Himalayan terrain. The mountainous border would become a formidable barrier, allowing India to leverage its vast army, which is highly suited for prolonged conflicts. India would also look to its key alliances with the United States, Japan, and Australia, bringing in strategic support that could tip the scales. India's ability to fight in harsh, high-altitude conditions would be a crucial advantage. The Indian Army is home to a specialized high-altitude warfare school, which is so respected that even NATO troops train there. With these strategies in mind, the clash would be nothing short of explosive. Both India and China possess powerful nuclear arsenals, making any conflict between the two potentially catastrophic. India, a self-proclaimed nuclear power since 1974, follows a strict no-first-use NFU policy, meaning they would only use nuclear weapons in retaliation to a nuclear strike, not as an initial move. As of 2024, India is estimated to have around 172 nuclear warheads, with its primary delivery systems being missiles like the Agni and Prithvi series. China, on the other hand, has a more ambiguous stance. While it publicly claims to adhere to a no-first-use policy, certain military statements and strategies suggest a more flexible approach in the event of a perceived existential threat. China's nuclear arsenal is estimated to be larger, with approximately 500 warheads. China also boasts a highly advanced array of nuclear-capable missiles, including the DF-5 and DF-41 intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, with the range to strike anywhere in the world. The stark contrast in nuclear stockpiles could tip the scales in a nuclear confrontation, but the true threat lies in the escalation potential. China's larger arsenal and modern missile capabilities could give it a more significant initial advantage, yet India's robust nuclear deterrent, combined with its NFU policy, ensures that any use of such weapons would be catastrophic for both sides. The prospect of a nuclear war in such a volatile region remains an alarming possibility, with devastating consequences for not just India and China, but the world. In the event of an India-China war, global powers would quickly pick sides based on strategic interests. The United States would almost certainly support India, driven by their growing partnership and shared aim of countering China's global influence. India and the US have strengthened military ties in recent years, making US support highly probable. Russia is in a delicate position, historically close to India but also allied with China. Russia would likely remain neutral or try to mediate, balancing its interests in both countries to maintain its influence. The European Union could impose sanctions on China, especially if Beijing's actions are deemed aggressive. However, Europe's economic ties with China would complicate direct intervention, making sanctions a more likely tool. Pakistan, India's longtime rival, would seize the opportunity to open another front against India, potentially providing support to China and capitalizing on the distraction in the East. These global players' responses would significantly shape the outcome, creating a volatile international situation. If war erupts between India and China, the human and economic devastation would be unimaginable. Tens of thousands would perish. In the first few days alone, military casualties could top 50,000, with civilians suffering in the crossfire, leading to another 100,000 plus deaths. Injuries would be even higher, with over 500,000 people wounded, many critically. Millions could be displaced, creating one of the largest refugee crises in modern history. The global economy would plummet into chaos. Supply chains would collapse, with trillions in losses as key industries in technology, manufacturing, and agriculture come to a halt. Stock markets would crash worldwide, triggering a recession so deep it could take decades to recover. The war would cost the world up to $10 trillion, with India and China losing billions daily. Neighboring countries would feel the tremors. Pakistan, Southeast Asia, and even the US and EU would face economic and security challenges as trade routes are disrupted, refugees flood borders, and military resources are stretched thin. The ripple effect would shake every corner of the globe, leaving a scar on humanity's collective future. Regardless of the winner, both nations would be severely weakened. China's global ambitions could be curtailed, and India's economic growth could be set back by decades. But here's the kicker. No one really wins a war. The world would suffer, and peace would seem more elusive than ever. So, who do you think would win if India and China went to war? Or would the real winner be peace? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon to stay updated on more geopolitical analyses. Stay safe, and remember, wars are fought by governments, but the losses are borne by ordinary people.